Hey guys, today I wanted to show you some of my fastest growing, most rewarding houseplants. But first, if you're new here, hi, my name is Amy. My focus is on mostly owning pet safe houseplants, and if you've seen any of my previous videos, hi, welcome back, and thank you to everyone who wished me good luck with my job interview yesterday. I will let you know when I hear back. And thank you for 100 subscribers, and yeah, let's get into it. The first plant I will show you, this is a fairly new plant in my collection. This is Pileia Pepperonioides, and this was a wedding gift to Chloe and I from one of Chloe's friends, and it was one that I knew that she grew herself, I think, from a Pileia pup. And this has grown really well in the 3 months we've had it. It's had lots of new growth here, and we also have tons of pups. I think we've got 5 or 6 pups growing now. You can see in the back, and this is a plant that I had been wanting to have again. I had it years ago, and I think it was root mealy that ended up finishing it off. I tried chopping it at the base of the plant and rerouting it, and it just wasn't quite ever the same after that. So I really wanted to have another go with it. So I'm so happy to have it. And this is a great pet friendly option and a really cool plant that grows really fast, puts out these pups really quickly so you can share it with friends and family. So it's really easy to get hold of. They're usually in garden centres, and if they're not, you can find small pups available on eBay and Etsy and places like that. I've got some really lovely big leaves growing on it as well. That's a really nice one. And I think at some point I will probably repot it into a plastic nursery pot and then use a cover pot, because I think these can do better. I've heard they do better in plastic over terracotta. So that will be something I do in the future, but even so, it's doing really well. And you can rotate these so that they grow a bit more evenly, really dome-like, but I quite like how it looks with all the leaves facing one way. The next plant I want to show you is a Hoya. I've got quite a few Hoya on this list today, but this is Hoya Australis. And although this is, it's not a small plant, but it used to be absolutely enormous. I had it on a huge trellis that I ended up chopping up and having to sell quite a lot of it, but I kept a couple of cuttings for myself, and they've already grown loads since then. I've had tons of new growth. You can see all these lovely shiny new leaves there. There's some in the back as well, some little tiny diddy ones. I think I got it in 2020 and it started growing really well the second I brought it home, which I know some Hoya, they have quite a long acclimation period before they really start taking off. You can have them for like 2 or 3 years sometimes, and they don't really do much of anything, and then suddenly they start growing. But this one was a fast grower right from the start. So if you have had that experience with previous Hoya in your collection and you want something that's going to be a lot more rewarding and fast growing, I definitely recommend the Hoya Australis. Really, really lovely. I very recently acquired the Hoya Australis Lisa, so I can't yet speak for whether that one's as fast growing, but certainly the all green Australis is definitely one of my fastest growing plants, and I'm really excited to grow this out really big again because it's such a cool plant. It's also a really easy bloomer. At one point I had 7 blooms on it and it looked absolutely incredible, really, really gorgeous. And Hoya are another amazing pet friendly option if that's something that you're looking for. The next plant on my list today is Piper silvaticum, and I'll say first before I forget to mention, I'm not sure on the toxicity of this plant. I've heard both that it is pet friendly and also that it's not pet friendly, so I'm going to do some extra research before posting this video, and I'll have whether it is or not, or if I can even find out, written at the bottom of the screen. But this is such a unique plant. I haven't got anything like this in my collection. I think one of my biggest motivations for getting it is because it's a Piper and our dog is called Piper, but nonetheless it is so pretty. And it's I got it as a 2 or 3 leaf cutting, and I don't know if I have any pictures of it from them, but I've definitely got one where it was maybe 5 leaves, which I will insert. And it's just been a really, really fast grower. And if you watched my plant tour video, you'll have seen it was on a bamboo stake, and it quickly outgrew that. And I've now wrapped it around this metal trellis that I got from Amazon. And even it's continued to keep growing round. Where's the new? There it is. This is where it's growing from. So I know at some point I will probably have to chop it because I would love a really full bushy version of this plant, but I've heard they're quite hard to root. So if you have had luck with rooting Piper silvaticum, please let me know how you did it. Otherwise, I reckon my perlite prop box is probably my best bet. But such a fast growing plant, really unique, incredible pattern and texture to the leaves, and one that I'm really happy has done so well, as I thought it would be quite a finicky one potentially. It does not like to dry out, I would say. I have accidentally let it dry out really far a few times. It didn't react badly, but it's definitely one that likes to be kept a little bit more moist. Next up, I've got another Hoya. This is Hoya Crimson Queen, and this is another fairly new plant in my collection. I got it, I think, back in March, and it was definitely a lot smaller. I've taken loads of cuttings and all of those have rooted really well, and everything has been pushing out tons of new growth. You can see there's some new growth there, and even some of the all white growth it's put out has stayed for quite a long time, a lot longer than I thought it would, so that's really cool. But this is another Hoya that I would say is fast growing the second you bring it home. It doesn't have, at least for me, it hasn't had too much of an acclimation period, and it's just been doing really, really well. At the moment I've got it trellised. I would rather have it as a hanging plant, but just for space's sake at the moment I've got it trellised, and when I've got another place to hang it I will take it down. But it's such a pretty Hoya and not too hard to get your hands on. I got this from a garden centre. My dog's just digging our rug. Excuse me, puppy. Hi. Hi. You sit. You sit. So this one I did buy from a garden centre, and that was the first time I'd ever seen Hoya Crimson Queen pop up in shops. I don't know whether elsewhere in the UK they're quite easy to get a hold of, and you know, anywhere else in the rest of the world, but I do see them fairly frequently on places like eBay and Etsy to get as cuttings, and they're not too hard to root. So if you are looking for one of these, I definitely recommend trying one, and they're not too expensive as well. So even if you are buying a fairly small cutting, hopefully it should grow pretty quickly for you and you'll have a proper full plant in not too long. Next up, I've got a bigger plant here. This is Calatheon Network, or Calatheon mosaica. I don't know if they're different plants. I don't think they are. But I've had this one for a little while now, and I bought it as a reduced plant, but it was still in fine. It had, you know, a bit of damage to some of the leaves, but it was absolutely fine. I brought it home and it was really fast to get going. Calathea are another great pet-friendly option, and this one for Calathea is so easy. If you've had trouble in the past, I highly, highly recommend this one. There's minimal crisping, and this one, it used to live in my living room, but I moved it into my bathroom now. So although it does get quite high humidity now, it didn't used to, and it's still been absolutely fine and growing really fast. Some of the leaves, that's a good one, get absolutely enormous. I don't know if you'll be able to see compared to my hand how big that is. And I've had it bloom once for me, I think. But it's gone from two very different lighting conditions, and that hasn't phased it at all, so it's fairly adaptable. The only thing I would not advise is direct sunlight. That is likely to burn the leaves, but so, so lovely. I'll give you a better look at the markings on the leaves there. Really, really gorgeous. And if you're wanting that really lovely tropical look that Calathea give, but you've had trouble with them in the past, or you're nervous to give them a go because they have a reputation, definitely give the Calatheon Network a try. Next up is my Hoya Matilde, and I won't talk about this for too long because I think I've spoken about it quite a bit already in previous videos, but this one, unlike the other two Hoya I've shown you today, did have that slightly long settling in period before it really started to take off, but now that it has, it is just growing so fast. I bought it as a rooted cutting on eBay, and I will insert pictures from when I first got it. But it's just been doing really, really well. I've taken lots of cuttings and they've all, I think for the most part, rooted fine and are potted back up, and it's been putting out tons of new growth there and loads of peduncles. So I'm hoping that soon this is going to be absolutely full of blooms and it's going to look incredible. Really, really gorgeous. But if you want to see more of this plant, I posted about it in my July favourites. The next two I want to show you are just a little bit harder to move. So here they are. This is my Nepenthesolata. I've got this massive pot by our back door. I've got a few different types of Nepenthes in here, but the main plant that grows all the way to the top is the Alata. And although I don't have a ton of pictures on it, it does have a few, as you can see here. It grows so fast, and the leaves themselves are really lovely. I'll insert a picture of what it looked like when I first brought it home, because it was not a tiny one, but fairly small, and it's just absolutely taken off. If I unravelled it, it would easily sort of be taller than our ceiling. There is Miss Pipes. But yeah, another really fast growing plant, and a really unique plant. And I do believe Nepenthes are pet safe. I will double check that before I post this video. But so cool. And I will spin you around. Hello lady, hi. Why is my mum paying attention to plants and not me? My Hoya Polyneura, which again I've spoken about quite a bit before, but it is definitely one of my fastest growing plants in my collection. Again, this one did have quite a long settling in period, but now that it has taken off, it is doing so well. And these are becoming more affordable and more accessible on places like eBay and Etsy as cuttings. They're not quite as expensive as they used to be for smaller cuttings. So if you do want to give these a go, I definitely recommend trying them out. The next plant I want to show you, this is one of my all-time favourites. This is the goldfish plant, the Nematanthus radicans, I believe, but it is just so cute. I love the glossy leaves, and if you watched my last video, you'll have seen me take quite a few cuttings that I'm currently rooting, ready to pop back in with this plant. I originally got this as 2 unrooted cuttings off eBay. They rooted really well. I planted them up, and every time they got sort of long enough for me to take a good cutting from, I did that. And so I've been, you know, repeatedly growing, chopping, propping, potting them back in over and over again to now have this really lovely full basket of it. These are quite hard to get a hold of in the UK. I've seen them pop up on eBay, and that's the only place I've been able to get hold of goldfish plants so far. I've never seen them in garden centres, but they are just a really cute plant, and they are pet friendly. I've not had them bloom for me before, but I don't mind because I love the foliage anyway. I have 2 other types of goldfish plant. They're both variegated, and they are definitely slower growing than this one. So if you want something that's going to give you sort of really rewarding fast growth, I would recommend going for an all green one versus a variegated one at first. But they're so gorgeous and really easy to propagate. You just need to chop some of the stem and remove a couple of the lower leaves and pop them in water or perlite. They've done really well for me. One of my favourite plants overall. Really gorgeous, and I can't recommend them enough. I love them. The last plant I want to show you today is my Peperomia scandins, the all green version. And Peperomia are one of my favourite plant genuses. They have so much variety, and they are pet friendly, so they're a great option if you have curious pets or kids running about that might get hold of your plants. And yeah, this one I bought a variegated one a couple of years ago now, and it had a couple of leaves that I guess had either fallen off or rooted in the pot that were pushing out all green growth, which I separated, and soon realised I think I preferred the all green to the variegated. So I chopped the whole plant up, and this is what we have now. This really lovely big full plant, looks absolutely wild. I love it. Really cool. I think this is my biggest Peperomia, I think. So if you are looking for one that has the ability to grow quite large, this is a really lovely one that I highly recommend. And again, once I have more space to hang plants, I definitely want to get this in a hanging planter, because it will just look so pretty with the sun coming through these gorgeous leaves. And I'm so happy to have this in my collection. It has been a very rewarding Peperomia. So that is all the plants I have to show you today. However, I have a couple of honourable mentions that I thought could be fun. I used to have a Marble Queen Pothos that was so pretty. I bought it as a fairly small plant. I don't know that I actually have any pictures of it, but it grew so well, so fast, that I ended up selling it just because the space we have in our flat at the moment, I was struggling to find where to put it as it kept getting bigger and bigger. But that was an incredibly fast grower. Pothos are toxic to pets, so if you are concerned about that, that is something to bear in mind. But if you don't have to worry about that too much, I highly recommend those. They're really pretty, really fast growing plant. And another one that I've never had before, but I know someone who does, is the Rhaphidophora tetrasperma, another toxic plant. However, it is one that I've heard other people on YouTube or Instagram say is incredibly fast growing. And yeah, the person that I know who has one it's grown all the way to their ceiling, and they keep chopping it back, and it grows back really well, really fast. So another one that if you want something that's going to fill a space really fast, that could be a great option for you. Yeah, so as far as pet friendly plants go, obviously you do lose on the sort of philodendrons, pothos that can be quite fast growing, but the ones I've shown you today I have found really rewarding, and I'm excited to watch them continue to grow. But that is everything I have to show you today. I would love to hear what are your fastest growing plants in your collection. Obviously it varies person to person. These plants might do really well for me and not for some of you, and you guys may have plants that do really well for you that I've really struggled with. So I would love to hear what your fastest growing plants are in your collection at the moment. But otherwise, I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe if you did, and I'm Amy's Greenish Thumb on Instagram and TikTok as well if you'd like to find me there, and I will see you next time. Bye!